For Charlotte MP Andre Rollins saying the country needs new leadership.
That, he said, was his conclusion after listening to the Prime Minister's contribution to the value-added tax debate. Rollins recently resigned as the Progressive Liberal Party whip, and he took it a step further to say that the Prime Minister was wasting the public's time quoting scriptures instead of focusing on what he considered a critical debate. Jimenita Swain was at the House of Assembly and picks up the story from there.
The Fort Charlotte member Andre Rollins wasted no time in continuing his lashing of the government. In fact, Rollins sent a clear and direct challenge to the leader of his party and Prime Minister Perry Christie, stating that it may be time for new leadership. He said the political threats uttered by the Prime Minister during the morning session of the House of Assembly Wednesday left him with one impression: that new political leadership is needed in the Bahamas.
When a leader and Minister of Finance, when a Prime Minister and Minister of Finance could take a debate as important and critical to the pockets and wallets of the Bahamian people, a debate as critical as that, when he could spend most of his contribution threatening members on this side, it's evidence that we need new leadership.
Prime Minister Christie was not in the House at the time, but instead he had already left the country for Las Vegas. Acting Prime Minister Philip Davis said Rawlings, quote, crossed the line, and, quote, and he called for him to do the honorable thing and resign as chairman of the gaming board.
Having questioned the leader in his motives and in fact, suggesting that he should no longer be leader, I think he has an honorable thing to do. He holds a post which the leader appointed him, and I'll say no more.
Davis went as far as to say he and Rollins could meet Thursday morning, and in his capacity as acting Prime Minister and acting leader of the PLP, discussed the matter. As for Rollins, he defended his position.
I never said that the Prime Minister should no longer be leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. I said we need new political leadership in this country. The second point I wish to make, so let it be clear that I never said that the Right Honorable Member for Centerville should demit office today as leader of the Progressive Liberal Party.
Rollins also had an answer to the resignation call.
Boards are due to be reappointed as of July 1. Now, I cannot explain for the cabinet why boards have not been reconfirmed, whether there be new boards or the renewal of existing boards. But how can I be asked to do the honorable thing when in effect, really and truly, I am not the chairman for the gaming board?
Mr. Davis said all boards had been extended to August 31st, and if Rollins didn't get the message, then that was unfortunate. It's unclear if Rollins has done as Mr. Davis has suggested and resigned from that gaming board post. For now, members are expected to begin debate on the gaming referendum bill next week. Jimenita Swain, ZNS Network News.
At the end of its rope and now prepared to shut Cable Bahamas down, the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union is putting Cable Bahamas on notice that industrial unrest is imminent.
Now, the union has been involved in a 12 to 15-year-long battle with Cable Bahamas for recognition as the bargaining agent for non-managerial employees.
Now, the BCPOU is demanding that Cable Bahamas comply with the Supreme Court order and the Industrial Relations Act and move to conclude an industrial agreement.
Our Cleopatra Murphy tonight tells us that Union President Bernard Evans says they've had enough.
BCPOU President Bernard Evans put Cable Bahamas on notice. He said the company has 30 days to negotiate in good faith or face industrial unrest.
After that, if there is no reprieve or no turn in their actions, for positive that is, in 180 degree, we are prepared to bring to bear the National Congress of Trade Unions and the Trade Union Congress to shut Cable Bahamas down in 1 month.
Evans says it has been a long battle with the company that he said has exhausted legal avenues and has tried to intimidate workers to prevent the union from representing them. He said employees work in hazardous conditions, with a Grand Bahama employee currently hospitalized in the U.S. because of being exposed to mold.
Situation right here in Nassau with the Texaco gas station Nairobus that was next door to the original building. There were cries that there were fumes from the gas station emanating throughout the building. There are no fewer than 4 persons, 2 of which I understand are still out of work. Cable Bahamas has not come to their aid.
Evans likened the situation to apartheid, adding that there are many issues facing employees, including no opportunity for promotion. He said that while Cable Bahamas has met with the union sporadically over the years, it is insufficient. He says the union is now prepared to act because employees are ready.
Recently they have come now that they are ready now to do something, and we could only change the condition when the people are ready to change their own condition. And so since now that they're ready, we're ready now to hold their hands and ride it all the way through.
Evans says this is the final straw, and if Cable Bahamas fails to come to the table, the union will act in 1 month in the interest of the employees. Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
Now, Cable Bahamas says it's surprised and disappointed by the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union's ultimatum to negotiate in good faith or face industrial unrest. In a statement responding to remarks made by Union President Bernard Evans Thursday, the company said it met with the BCPOU on 2 occasions in May and has been abiding by the ruling of the Supreme Court, which recognizes the BCPOU as the bargaining agent for non-managerial employees of Cable Bahamas. And while Union President Bernard Evans expressed concern over the treatment of employees and concern for their welfare, Cable Bahamas says the safety of its employees and customers has always been a priority. The company says it's working with the government agencies associated with the environmental disaster at its Robinson Road offices to resolve that matter. The statement further notes that at the last meeting in May, the BCPOU advised Cable Bahamas that it would continue negotiations and would send its preferred approach in writing. The company says it's still waiting for communication from the union.
All right, well, the BCPOU President Bernard Evans is also saying that one of his union's goals is to, or as it enters negotiations for the Bahamas Telecommunications Company's new industrial agreement, is to protect against redundancy. He says the union is seeking protection so that the company can only make a job redundant where it is no longer receiving a financial benefit. The president added that with Cable and Wireless opening a new office in Coral Gables, Florida, there's a concern that it might attempt to micromanage BTC. So the union is also seeking protection in that area. BTC's agreement expired in April, and Evans says negotiations were to begin in July, but were delayed to allow new CEO Leon Williams an adjustment period.
We know the nature of Cable and Wireless. We know what has happened in the Caribbean of redundancies, and we want to guard against that. Okay? We want to guard against that. Redundancy simply means that a company is no longer carrying out a particular job function, right? And so, because they're no longer carrying out, they would make those persons who carry out that function redundant. But what Cable and Wireless was doing was, they were taking a function outside of their main precinct and outsourcing it, where they would receive monetary value from it. But they're saying that they outsourced the job, and so the persons who normally do that job in-house is now made redundant.
Officials from Hitachi are in the capital for a routine check of its combustion turbine in light of frequent power outages which occurred in the last few weeks. BEC's chairman Leslie Miller stressed the need for more capacity. He says the government was presented with a roadmap 18 months ago which includes a new 128 megawatt plant at Clifton Pier, and he's hoping it'll be implemented soon.
One of those machines, that's GT5 at Blue Hills, our latest engine, the Hitachi, and that is up now, but we're only running it at 10 megawatts. That has capacity of 26.5. We don't want to run it at full speed because we're still waiting for the experts to come in tomorrow from Hitachi, and hopefully that will be rectified between now and Friday.
Well, still to come, ZNS News is on the scene of the country's latest homicide.
And in sports news, highlights from Night League softball. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight live.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Siaska Adderley. The Ministry of Tourism, along with representatives from the Grand Bahama tourism sector, conducted an aggressive public relations and sales mission throughout the cities of Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, and Pittsburgh to promote new direct and non-stop air service to Grand Bahama. The package programs with Vacation Express, which started in May, has yielded positive results for Grand Bahama. That island has seen a significant increase in airlift. In other business news, the government has announced plans to build a major motorsports complex to be completed by 2016. This decision comes 3 years after the first revival of Bahamas Speed Week reawakened the nation's appetite for vintage auto racing. Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture Dr. Daniel Johnson says the $9 million complex will serve as a multi-purpose center along with many other facilities. And in international news, Bank of America has agreed to pay a record $16.7 billion to U.S. authorities for misleading investors about the quality of loans it sold. Before Bank of America bought those loans in 2008, loans were sold by Countrywide Financial and Merrill Lynch. The settlement will cut the bank's third-quarter profits by $5.3 billion. This has been your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm C.S. Scatterly.